Hey guys, Louie here. I hope you're having a good day and welcome back to Acorn Hill. This is our first vlog as we enter summer 2021. It is summer, which means that we have now reached the pinnacle of what we have been preparing for working in the garden. From late winter through spring, and from here on out, daylight has started to slip away by a second every day. But mainly on the positive side, it is the season of growth. This is now the time when we see all the fruits of our labor, with all the things that we planted in the spring are now starting to grow and mature. Which brings me to what I want to show you today. This is a compilation of all different snippets from when I started planting rhubarb in our garden back in the spring. It's my first time to grow rhubarb. I've always wanted to have rhubarb for the garden, for our vegetables, for rhubarb pie, puddings, and crumble, not only to save money having this ingredient handy, but also to be a fulfilling way to brighten up our new vegetable garden. Rhubarb is grown for their prized stalks, and they come in many varieties, but the one that I will be planting is the Victoria rhubarb, named after Queen Victoria. And Victoria is also my mother's first name, so this is a special shout out to my mom, but also a plant that will always remind me of her whenever I harvest them in the spring. Rhubarb come as roots when you buy them from the store, and I got them back in the spring. And with this labeling, one can tell and one can see how easy it's planted. You dig a hole, you put the stem in, and you backfill it with soil. And then you water. And here again is when I tell you folks that our soil here, our suburban soil in central North Carolina, is heavy, clay, claggy, and it really gets a lot of water logging, that growing these roots, if I don't outsmart the clay that I have, will only rot the roots. I chose a site right on the berm by the elevated garden on the east side of our property, and what I'm doing here is in this clip I have dug a hole the size of these tree containers where I got our previous trees planted in, and I'm recycling those plastics that I backfilled with good compost. These black plastic pots are baseless. I removed the base of them, and underneath it there's a lot of gravel, so that drainage is important when I start planting these roots. Along this side of our property, there is this one big oak that the development planted on the opposite side near the street level, and so that tree will provide a lot of shading and a lot of protection to these tender roots as it starts growing. Here's the closer look of the pot that I inserted into the hole that I dug, this clay planting area. What you see is a ring of drip irrigation. That's the brown poly tubing with holes at 6-inch intervals. And that is that nice organic compost that I ordered, filled it up. And all I had to do really is this simple. I will be putting a divot, a nice planting hole in the middle, and this is where I will place the roots. The packaging of the rhubarb came in with a lot of shavings. I also used the shavings just so that it mixes in with the compost. Looks like ginseng, doesn't it? This is the rhubarb root. This is nice and firm. Once it is inside that planting medium, foliage will start forming right on that dark tip, and that's the tip that you want facing upward. For many gardeners, rhubarb has this reputation of being a gotta-have-it vegetable in the garden. It's interesting to have it because in as much as people want the stalk, the leaves of the rhubarb are considered poisonous, meaning it gives off a certain chemical that when eaten in huge amounts could really upset someone's health. And back to the planting of rhubarb root, it couldn't be simpler. Stick it in the ground, making sure that you water it in well, and watch the root and the plant grow. It is also good to note that rhubarb are very hungry plants, and what they always need in the beginning is a good start in life. What I do is in the bottom of that hole I put in Biotone starter fertilizer. It's a long-term slow release fertilizer that will feed the root in the initial year of growing during this season. Rhubarb will be good for growing roots for the first year. The second year, that's when you start kind of looking to see whether you can harvest stalks, but for rhubarb you allow the roots to just grow and grow wild for the first year. You don't touch it, just let it get established, and once it's established, the following second or third year, then that would be the harvest time for the stalk. During the growing season, I will be watering this with high nitrogen mix, and this is from the organic nettle that I use. I chop them up and I store them, allow for the concentrate to be mixed in a gallon of water. Usually just one jam jar into a gallon of water would be more than enough, and that's what I use to water this throughout the season. This current clip, I am showing you how I planted my second rhubarb root. There are actually 3 big roots that I planted throughout the landscape. This is the second. This is very much adjacent to the first one, and I will show you at the end of this video what they look like on the third plant that I had planted on one of the newer perennial beds near the vegetable patch. And here it is, guys. 2 months later, right beneath this limelight hydrangea is the rhubarb, the third plant that I had put in next to the vegetable patch here in the new border. This is that new reclaimed area near the border of my property and my neighbor's property. That rhubarb is growing very healthily in this one spot. This is the rhubarb plant, and look at the leaves. Look at the stalks. The stalk retains some red coloring in the initial phases of growth, and they look greenish, kind of pale green at the moment, which I think is typical. It's my first year to grow rhubarb, and I've seen it transform from a bright red, similar to the one on the packaging, into this color green, where they are thick, they are healthy. The turgor in these leaves and in the stalks is very good. Because what we are doing the first year is allow the roots beneath the soil to grow vigorously, so that next year, see how wide that leaf is. Next year, we are hoping for a much bigger bush or a much bigger plant with longer stalks and a much healthier quality to the rhubarb that hopefully we can get a few stalks next year from. I do hope you liked the video you've seen today. It's a primer on how to grow rhubarb. If you've grown rhubarb and you have them in your garden, put it on the comment section. Let me know how yours are doing. Give me some tips on how I can improve on my rhubarb, and hopefully we can get a good conversation around this. Thanks again for watching, and as always, if you like my videos, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to ACORN Hill if you haven't already for more videos coming up. For now, this is Louie, and we'll see you back here in ACORN Hill. Bye-bye for now.